Heavens, I wasn't expecting you just yet. I was at the time. Oh, I should have been expecting you. I just wanted to try things on, see if they still fitted. I found them in a box I'd forgotten about. It's not strictly true. I hadn't really forgotten. Just that, well, you see, Hugh, my late husband, didn't really approve. Wanted me to stay at home, be a good little wife and helping Mummy while he went off to win the war, not running off to be a bargee, as he put it. Which I didn't. And I wasn't. I was a boater. And he certainly didn't want to hear about it after the war, so put it all in a box and put it on the back shelf of my mind, as my friend Maddie would say. But he's gone now, so I've been having a good sort out. And there it was. Under 50 years of clutter in the attic. Had a bit of a sift through. Found myself thinking, I wonder what the canals and the boats are like now. They must have changed a bit in 50 years. I decided I'd come and have a look. So here I am, on a boat, having a bit of a trip. And I brought, I brought my cut cocoa cup. Condensed milk and golden syrup. That was our recipe. No, this is a pot of tea. Children always said nobody else's mother made cocoa like I did. Oh, and I've brought my favourite pullover. Still smells of coal and diesel. And my windlass. There. Do I look 23 again? No, I rather thought not. But it's what I feel inside. Back on a boat, dungarees, windlass tucked into my belt. I hope I can remember what to do. And my diary. I brought that to read as I went along. A little bit of a trip down memory lane. Might help me remember what to do as well. It's the only time I ever kept a diary. I don't know why I started it, really. I think I was lonely. Stuck back in Oxford with Mummy and Daddy in that drafty Victorian pile while Hugh was off winning the war. June the 8th, 1944. Helped Mummy with teas at the infirmary. That and rolling bandages was about the totality of my contribution to the war so far. Mummy and Hugh seem to think my war work is to produce babies, and that not producing one is positively unpatriotic. I sometimes wondered if they ever realised that his being there was an essential part of the process. He was only for home for about 10 minutes at a time. Well, so far, it hasn't been the right 10 minutes. I'm so tired of being the dim one in the family. Just because I'm not clever enough to teach, like Rosalind, that's my sister, but I've seen an advertisement for something I think I can do. Mummy won't approve, but I've done it. I've applied. I always remember the day the letter came. So excited. They'd accepted me. The Women's Training Scheme. Can see the letter now. Your wages will be £2 per week during training and £3 per week minimum thereafter. Wages. I'd never had a pay packet. It made me feel so grown up. I'd never felt grown up, not even after being married for 18 months. Miss Gayford is starting a training trip on the 23rd. Please report Bullsbridge 22nd. Apologies short notice. Please telephone soonest, etc., etc. Oh, a little bit of a mad rush. I really hadn't got a thing to wear. There was no uniform. It wasn't like the land girls. Frida, our help, came up with a headscarf, said, "You're a working girl now." Pullover I found in the attic in Daddy's sailing things, and got these in a jumble sale. Mummy wasn't impressed. Trousers? You can't possibly go It is 1944, I said. And anyway, the girl in the advertisement's wearing trousers, so I'm sure it's all right. Then she tried a different tack. Shouldn't you write to Hugh? I mean, ask his permission. Well, I knew if I did that, there'd be no chance. There is a war on, I said. We all have to do our bit. And anyway, Hugh's in some terribly secret place in Scotland, so there's no chance I'll get pregnant at the moment, unless we try carrier pigeon. I think it's going to be a lark. She hated that word. It was a lark. Well, some of the time. It's a jolly hard lark. I learned a lot of new boating words those first few days, of which stemmed and up were the two I used most. How Kit, that's Miss Gayford, only she insisted on Christian names, so we were Isobel, Pat and Iris, who was on her second trip, so practically an expert. How Kit persuaded 72-foot of boat round sharp bends. I do not know. I just know that whenever I did it, I didn't. Or rather, I started, and the next thing I knew, the damn thing was driving up the bank. The only way off was the shaft. Bloody great pole. Kit was amazing. She was taught by real boat people. I wonder if there's any of them left now. Even the children could steer without stemming up. It was her job to take us, 3 at a time, 2 round trips to Birmingham, at the end of which we were supposed to be trained. If I ever got off that muddy bank. Oh, I was so tired by the time we tied up. Never done anything that physically hard in my life. I found out today there's a canal that comes to Oxford. I never knew that. Of course I did. I'd cycled down past the wharves in Jericho and Hythe Bridge Street countless times. I'd seen boats unloading the coal. I just never thought about where it came from or how it got there. Working on the boats was quite an eye-opener. Cargo, coal, cocoa, catastrophes. It would be fun to arrive in Oxford with a load of coal. I'd love to see Mummy's face. I didn't think we ever would because we were Grand Union boats. Took war supplies from London to Birmingham and then went on to Coventry to take coal back to London. Most of the boat is cargo. Not like nowadays. The cabin is tiny. About the size of my bedroom here. I share with Iris. She has the bed that folds out of the cupboard and I have the side bed. I like it. I loved it. I could reach the stove, put the kettle on, make tea, all without getting out of bed. I can't do that here. There isn't any plumbing. None at all. There was a bucket in the engine room and a water can on the cabin roof. It was all rather primitive. Well, to be honest, much worse than the Victorian plumbing at home. At least that one could be sure water would come out of the can, which was rather more than the college taps managed sometimes. We had a rota for bath night. That's when you got the cabin all to yourself for a proper strip wash, except in emergencies, falling in. Pat did that the very first afternoon. She mistook some green algae for solid land and went straight through it. Came up covered in the most disgusting green slime. And that was just the first day. The next morning, Kate chucked me and her ancient bicycle off at a bridge hole. It's narrower there, you can jump onto the bank, and told me to go and get the next lock ready. So we call lock wheeling, she shouted as I wobbled off. That bike had a mind of its own. It was known as Waltzing Matilda. Kit was the only one who had any control over it at all. I will never forget that ride. Weaving along the towpath, trying not to fall in, and thinking that if I must, then into the hedge would be better than into the water. All I was thinking about was staying upright and keeping going. I didn't think about the lock at all. Arrived, dropped Matilda, and then had absolutely no idea what to do next. I couldn't remember a thing I'd been told. Pat was supposed to be helping me, but she wasn't well, probably the green algae. Come on, Isobel, I said. You're never going to make a boat woman if you can't even get a lock ready. Just think. Our boats were coming from down there, and the lock was full, so the gates wouldn't open, so I needed to empty it. So I windlass, worked out which of the spindly things to put it on, and started to wind it. Drop that paddle! What the hell do you think you're doing, stealing my lock? Oh, my known it. Bleeding trainee. Menace, you lot. Should have left you on the bank where you belong. I'm just getting the lock ready for our boats, I said. See them boats? That pair of boats? Them's my boats. And this here lock is set for a minute if you think I'm going to run around for half hour against me. You've got another thing coming. I'm just learning, I said. Everyone has to learn. Even you had to learn sometime. Too bloody long ago to remember. Now get out the way and stay out the way. I've never seen anyone move so fast or so slow. There was no running or rushing or shouting, but somehow he had the top gates open, both boats in, gates shut, paddles up, boats down, bottom gates open, and the motor nosing out, flicking a tow rope onto the butty, and on their way. And that boy, the one steering the butty, couldn't have been more than about 10. I'll never be able to do it that quickly, I thought. And then I remembered. Kit and the others would be here any minute. And I was supposed to have the lock ready. I'd have to start again. What was I going to do? I was going to empty it. And then I realised it was empty. Even the gates were open. No wonder that man was so cross with me. Yes, I said. Yes, wasn't it? Oh, right. Please, God, may I never, ever, ever meet Mr. Carter again. Ever. I got better at locks over the next few days, and Kit said my steering was improving. I had a new bête noire, breasting up. Sort of opposite to stemming up. Stemming up is when you don't want to stop, and you do, suddenly. And breasting up is when you do want to stop to bring the boats together, and you can't, because you haven't got any brakes. Just about managed it and tied up, and I saw him again. Mr. Carter. He was talking to Kit, and he looked furious. Kit looked furious too. I was sure he was telling her about that lock. So when she called, Isobel, I was convinced I was going to be on the next train home. 4 days a boat woman and sacked. Ever done any nursing? She said. Nursing? It's Billy, Mr. Carter's laddie. Turned out he hadn't been telling her about the lock at all. He was just worried about Billy, who was poorly. I was about to say that about the nearest I got to nursing was sitting with Rosalind while she had measles. And that was mostly so I'd catch it. Other than that, it was just rolling bandages at the Batcliffe Infirmary. Hardly felt that counted. Oh, do come on, she called. So I did. And then he had the one thing I was qualified to diagnose, thanks to Rosalind. He's got measles, I said. And he's very feverish. We need to get his temperature down. Tepid sponging should do it. We took it in turns all night. And by the morning, Mrs. Carter said he was looking a bit more his old self. I think he should see a doctor, though, I said, just to check. Sister Mary, they all said. She's the boater's nurse at Stoke Bruin, said Kit. We'll be through there this evening. She'll take a look at him. Outside, Mr. Carter was very busy retying all the already perfectly tied strings on their sheeted up cargo. We're very grateful, miss. Just glad I could help, I said. And I am sorry about that lock the other day. No, I'm done. Like you says, you still learning. I don't remember learning how to work a lock. On the boats, it's bred into you. Is that why Billy can steer so well, I said, because it's bred into him. I just really wanted the day to come when it would feel like it was bred into me. Norton Junction tomorrow. There's a company office there. Kit says that means letters. I hadn't heard from Hugh since I'd written to tell him about the boat. It was all right. Well, he sounded a bit uncertain, but wasn't surprised. His good little wife writing to tell him she was on her way to Birmingham with 50 tons of steel. I didn't mention the bucket. It was very sweet, though. He said he missed me and that he had leave the following week, 48 hours. And I didn't. We didn't get leave until the end of our training after 6 weeks. And I know I said to Mummy, oh, I'll just write and tell him when I've got leave. But when it came to it, nothing for it. Kit said I could have 48 hours leave too. After we tied up in Birmingham, and after we'd unloaded in Birmingham, and they would take the empty boats onto Coventry, and I could meet them there. You're not missing much, she said. We all hate the bottom road. Don't even ask. You'll find out soon enough. It's very strange to be powdering my nose and putting some lipstick on. I thought it might take rather more than 48 hours to get my hands up to Mummy's exacting standards. What on earth have you been doing, darling? Your hands look like a labourer. That's exactly what I've been doing, I said. I was full of it. And it's wonderful, jolly hard work, but I'm learning lots. I'm learning how to steer and work locks. I can even breast up. There is no need to be vulgar, she said. And isn't it time you went to meet Hugh at the station? So I put on my old, quite sweet Isobel. Shame her sister got all the brains, but I expect she'll be good for children, Isobel. And went on to meet Hugh by Jericho on the wharf. And found the Carter's boats were there. So I called, Mrs. Carter, Billy, hello. It's me, Isobel. Oh, hello, miss. How's Billy? Oh, he's right as rain now, ain't you, Billy? Billy! Come and say hello to miss. Hello, miss. Where's your boats, miss? They're in Birmingham. I'm on leave for a couple of days. Leave? You ain't leaving, is you, miss? It's only just started. You can't leave yet. And Dad's not cross with you about that dock anymore. No, I said, leave is when you have a little holiday. Oh, I'll be back in on the boats the day after tomorrow. So the next time you see me, I'll be having a bit of trouble, I expect, miss. I was looking forward to seeing Hugh, really I was. But I don't think I explained about the boats very well. He seemed to think it was a bit like going punting on the River Charwell. And kept telling me that as soon as I was pregnant, I could give up all this barging nonsense. So we had a nice time. Long walk and a concert and even a tea at the Mitre. It was a lot smarter in those days. Hardly seemed any time at all before we were back at the station, waving goodbye. And I know it sounds rather disloyal, but I couldn't help hoping that it hadn't been the right 10 minutes, if you get what I mean. I didn't want to give up before I'd done at least one complete round trip without stemming up. Then I had to get back to the boats. Kate telephoned, said I was to meet them at Hawkesbury Junction. If they'd gone to load, she would leave a message for me at the company office. Sounded straightforward enough. It was the worst journey of my life. I thought we'd never get to Coventry. And when I did, I had to wait another age for a bus. By the time I got there, it was getting dark. And there was no sign of Kit or the boat. I looked past the lock and down the canal and under the bridge, both ways. The only sign of life was a pub, a Greyhound. And I remembered. Kit had talked about the Greyhound, said it was a pub, but sort of come shop as well. There weren't many shops along the canal in those days. It's where they got supplies. So this had to be the right place. Just needed to pop in and ask. Except I've never been into a pub on my own in my life. No, sounds extraordinary now, doesn't it? 23 and never walked into a pub. That's what it was like then. Mummy would have been horrified I was even thinking about it. But she wasn't there and I wasn't going to stand outside all night. So I took a deep breath, girded my loins, reminded myself it was a shop as well, and marched in. Excuse me, I said, do you know Kit, Miss Gayford? And then I thought I should at least try and look like a girl who knew how to walk into a pub on her own and order something. So, I now have no squash. Hello, love. Yeah, we know Kit. You one of her trainees? Yes, I said, and I've lost her. Well, to cut a very long story short, it seems they had hardly tied up at Longford and they were being loaded with coal. They popped into the Greyhound for some bread and cocoa and would by now be halfway to Braunston. I would need to catch a bus to any one of a whole long list of places she reeled off. I think my face might have given me away. Oh, don't worry, love. We'll find her for you. Alf Smith, knows this road like the back of his hand. Miss Gayford left about tea time. How far do you reckon she'd have got? Oh, well, tea time, you say? Could be Ilmorton by now. But knowing them trainees, just as likely to be stemmed up on the first bend at Anstey. I began to wonder if leave had been such a good idea after all. I suddenly thought they might think I'm not coming back. I've thrown in the towel. A lot of girls did that. Kit had already told us about one who ran away on the first night. He woke up at dawn to hear her creeping out. I had to find them. Just had to do something, except I didn't know what. Finding, never mind catching, the right bus to the right place sounded impossible. I decided the best bet was to walk. I mean, after all, once I was on the towpath going in the right direction, I could hardly get lost, could I? So I turned round and I headed for the door, only to bump into Mr. Smith with, this is my missus. We run a pair of boats for Barlow's, we are best. If you don't mind early start, you can come along with us. Only we're turning for Oxford at Braunston, so we'd best find your Miss Gayford for that. Landlady found me a bed for the night. I was just dozing off to sleep and I realised he must have gone especially to fetch his wife, so that I wouldn't think there was anything improper about him offering to take me along with them. You know, I was quite proud to be a labourer. I didn't sleep very much, and I think it was still dark when I heard, Miss, Dad says you's to come now. They're all ready and waiting, engine running, tow line set. You can go on the butty, we are best. Don't get in the way. Still, there's no lock, still Morton, so you can't cause any trouble there. If I didn't know better, I'd have sworn he winked at me. He couldn't know about that lock, could he? It's another canal miles away. And she's a good little steerer, our Bess, he was saying. She'll learn you a thing or two before we find that Miss Gayford. She did too. Showed me how to get round sharp bends using landmarks. Showed me a farmhouse and a tree. When you see the farmhouse over the cratch, miss, push the tiller hard over. And when she comes round to the tree, ease her up and let her go round. Do you know, I didn't stem up once all morning. Mind you, Bessie's hand was never far from the tiller. She left me on some of the straight stretches. Said she was going to do her cabin chores. I watched her, bustling about in the tiny cabin, tidying up and doing something with rope. Splicing, she said. You show me how to do that, I said. Can't learn you everything for Branston, she said. Anyway, it's easy. Well, for me it isn't, I said. But you trainees are educated. Mum says you can read and everything. Then I really put my foot in it. Of course I can read, I said. Everyone can read. Never had much chance to go to school, did I? A few days, half a day here, there, waiting for an order. Anyway, you got picked on and you don't need your letters on the boats. I mean, Dad don't read neither. Oh, Bess, I'm so sorry. And then I saw it, a bend. There was no time to get Bess to help. I had to get round it on my own. And I mustn't stem up. These are proper boaters. A drafty house in North Oxford for them to go back to. Their livelihood depends on it. Right, I just need to find a farmhouse and a tree. In the end, the only thing I could spot that I thought would be any use was a bush and a cow. I even told it not to move. But I did it. I made it round. Not bad, I said to myself. Not bad at all, miss. Oh, Bess, I'm so sorry. I didn't think. I've never met anyone who hasn't gone to school before. It's all right, I said. I don't mind really. Like I said to you, you don't need your letters on the boats. And she looked a bit wistful and said, just sometimes I'd like to be able to read their magazines about the movies, you know, and the stars. Oh, that Clark Gable, he's that handsome. Tell you what, I said, the next time we meet, we'll look at one together. I'll show you letters. You could even write a letter to Clark Gable. Might be a while, miss. Yes. Please, I said, call me Isobel. Can I ask you something, miss? Isobel, does you always wear trousers? Not always, I said, but warm and practical, and most of the girls wear them. I'd love to wear trousers. Yeah, I reckon Dad'd kill me. He thinks you trainees ain't ladyfied wearing trousers. If he thinks that, why did he offer to... Because of Billy Carter. Billy's dad reckons you saved him. He says you ain't all la-di-da, you's willing to learn. That's what he says. So he did know about that lock. I was so relieved to see Kit pedalling along the towpath, yelling, "Morning!" to everybody. So that was exactly where she expected to find me. We're at the top of Hill Morton, Alf. We'll set them for you. Bess, want to carry on showing Isobel how to take a pair through a single lock? I got pretty good at locks by then. Couldn't quite see why a single one would be any different. Then as we approached it, I looked and thought, well, you definitely can't get two boats in there, and I wasn't even sure you could get one. I was convinced we were going to ram up against the brick wall and jam fast, but no. The motor slipped in like a hand into a glove, just an inch or so each side. The only thing was, you had to do it all twice. Take the motor through, empty the lock, open the gates and start again and bow haul the butty in. Reading didn't really seem to be the most important skill just at that moment. It's funny how quickly you settle into things. Soon, life was just all about waking early, making the tea, getting the engine running, loosing off. Lock after lock, bridge after bridge, bend after bend. Making mugs of cocoa and doorsteps of bread and dripping. Oh, and the coal dust got into everything. Can't even read this page, it's so smeared. I think that was the week it rained every single day. And I learned to hate the bottom road too. Black, oily water, endless single locks, and having to bow haul the butty with filthy, gritty ropes that ground into your back and pushed the dirt through and left lines on our skin. But I stuck it out, I survived, and I finished my training. Passed my test. I even managed to flick the decompression lever at exactly the right moment to start the engine, and got my National Service badge. I felt like a proper boater. Not that we were ever called anything except trainees. When you finish training, you've got a whole week of proper leave. I remember thinking I was either going to spend it all in the bath or eating sausage and chips. You can imagine the response that got. Are you sure you aren't pregnant? Absolutely sure, I said. Just hungry. We work very hard, you know. I asked Frida about magazines. Turned down quite a little lending library among the college servants, and she found me one. I left it on the dresser. I went to post a letter. When I got back, it had gone. Have you seen my magazine? I said. Is that yours, darling? What on earth are you doing reading trash like that? I thought it was Frida's. I said I'd help one of the boat girls with her reading. Oh, well, of course, if she's illiterate, that would explain it. She's not illiterate, I said. She just can't read. Darling, that is illiterate. I know, I said, but it makes her sound stupid, and she isn't. She just hasn't had much chance to go to school. She can plait and splice ropes and steer and work locks, and I'll never forget what she said next. Well, none of that can be very difficult, darling, if they're letting you do it. I was quite glad to get back to work, to the depot at Balls Bridge in Southall, to my boats. Well, Ada and Iris, my boats. Astra and Corona. I wonder if they're still about. Ada was the steerer. She'd done one more trip than either of us. And we were determined to be a crack team, like Audrey, Evelyn and Anne. We swept the cabin out, blacked the stove, polished all the brass, checked the ropes, and waited for orders. And then it came, the crackly voice over the tannoy. Steerer Martin, report for orders. Steerer Martin. 10 minutes later, Ada was back. Load of timber from Limehouse, she said. Ready? It was very strange setting off without Kit there to help out if anything went wrong, but we made it down to Limehouse, loaded, sheeted up, and run our way to Birmingham. It was all going well until Blisworth. There's a long tunnel at Blisworth. We came out of the top lock at Stoke Broom. I was on the motor, and I flicked the tow rope onto the butty and headed for the tunnel. Never actually steered a motor through the tunnel before. So I sang very loudly all the way to keep my spirits up, and I did bump the sides a few times. Ada wasn't best pleased. She was trying to get a stew on. But gradually, the drips got less and less, and the little chink of light at the end got bigger and bigger until we were out into daylight. Well done, I said to myself. And I turned around to wave at Iris, who wasn't there. No Iris, no Butty. The tow rope must have worked loose. I yelled for Ada, who stuck her head out of the cabin and said, "What's the matter?" "Where's Iris?" "In there," I said. We decided we'd have to reverse back in carefully and find her. It took half an hour just to get back to the mouth of the tunnel. No brakes. Just started, and I heard it. The thrum of the engine in the distance. "Quick," yelled Ada. Get over to the tow path. Somebody will be pushing her through and they won't be expecting us in the way." Sure enough, the Butty came nosing out of the tunnel with a very cross Iris, being pushed by... "Found your mate back there. Thought we better bring her through." Thank you, Mr. Carter. I was concentrating so hard on just getting... Oh, hello, Billy. "Hello, miss." "Dad says you ain't no idea you'd lost a 70 feet, Butty." A boater would have knowed the second that tow went. They'd have known before it went. You was towing the figure of 8, wouldn't you? It's no good, figure of 8 works loose. What you need is crawl straps and a news knot. Sure, if you like. We gave up on the stew. I treated everyone to fish and chips by way of penance. And after supper, Billy showed us cross straps and used knots, and Iris said she might forgive me if I took her turn at cleaning out the engine bilge. Disgusting job. Just scoop out all the oily dregs with your bare hands. Disgusting. Trouble was, I think I rather deserved it. A few days later, just tying up, and I saw the Smiths. So I bellowed, "Bess, you tying up? Got that magazine?" I got quite good at bellowing by then. No more meek little Isobel. Well, when the other steer or the girl on the bank's 90 foot or more away, you have to bellow. Took the magazine along after supper. She knew the name of every film star. She was picking out letters in no time. She knew everything they'd been in, who was walking out with who had a row with who was married to who was divorced. Divorce. Can you imagine it, Isobel? My, don't stand for that nonsense on the boats. Mine neither, I said. You live in an house, don't you, Beth? Isobel. What's it like, living in an house? The only thing I could think of was cold and draughty. I'd love to see your house, she said. If you don't mind, of course. No, I said. If we're ever in Oxford together, I'll take you to see it. Only, I wasn't sure I would really. That 1 mile between Jericho and Broad Street might as well be 1,000. But I'd love to have taken Mummy to see Bessie's cabin. Always spotless, stove blacked, brass polished, dirty and illiterate. We were far dirtier. Hardly ever got properly cleaned till we went home on leave and had a bath or stopped at the public baths. That was one of the coldest winters of the war, 1944 to 45. But spring came and we got orders to deliver to Oxford. We popped into the Greyhound as usual for cocoa or sardines or tin milk and got the usual, "You found your Miss Gayford yet?" And got our orders to go to Oxford. So it was up to Broadston and turned right into strange new territory. I thought the locks at Hill Morton were narrow. They were nothing to Napton. You'd think a narrowboat would be a narrowboat. Turns out some are narrower than others. and ours was another, only by an inch or so on each side, but enough to get stuck twice, once in the bottom lock, and again, completely and utterly, in the top lock. Couldn't even get out the way we got in. Lockkeeper had to send to the company for some men to come and help. And Pear's coming up behind us. Skinners, Smiths. Hello, Billy. Hello, miss. Having a bit of trouble? Afraid so. It did take 6 men and a block and tackle on the top gate to shift us, so we didn't feel too weak and feeble. We loosed the others by. Didn't want to hold them up any longer. Bye, Billy. See you in Banbury, Bess. We'll go to pictures, she shouted. That's when we learned how spick and span the boat girls could be on a teaspoon of water. Bess was in her smart frock, hair done, lipstick on. We were just scruffy. I think she was rather ashamed to be seen with us. Finally, we arrived in Oxford. Ada and Iris decided the chance of a fast train to London was too good a chance to pass up, so they left me in charge of the boats. Mummy and Rosalind and Hugh all came to visit. Mummy didn't stay long. Rosalind loved it. She thought the cabin was so cosy. I was very impressed that I could start the engine and steer it and everything. Said it was much more like proper war work than being stuck in a classroom teaching 12-year-olds. Round here, I said, it's the 12-year-olds who teach us. I'll introduce you to Billy sometime. And poor Hugh just peered in as though it was another planet. So these are your barges. Are you nearly ready to come home? For the umpteenth time, Hugh. They are not barges, they are boats. And working a pair of them, these two, for 8 or 10 or 12 hours a day is not like going punting on the Charwell. And they are my home. So you can come and stay with me in my home, or you can go back to my mother. At 6'2", Hugh wasn't really built for a boat cabin, but he was very impressed with my newfound cooking skills, and he managed very nicely. April the 1945. I am so tired. Made a terrible turn at Wigram's today and hit the bridge. Haven't done that since my second training trip. And everything seems to taste of cocoa. Even last night's sausages tasted of cocoa. Oh, the others all insisted they were fine. May the 8th. I am so stupid. Been sick every morning this week and blamed just about everything you can think of. Through Stoke Bruin that afternoon, so Ada wheeled me in to see Sister Mary, who said, "Nothing wrong with you, dearie. You're just pregnant." The right 10 minutes. And it was VE Day. The war was finally over. Oh, talking of the right 10 minutes, she'll be here any minute. Said she's going to come and help me. Thinks I can't manage. I think I'll be learning her a thing or two. And it's been lovely talking to you, but I'd really like to get the engine running before they arrive. Then we'll be all ready to untie and go. So bye for now.